Hi, everybody. This is Saad. As some of you know, I am currently working on my forthcoming book, Suicidal Empathy. And in one of the last chapters, I discussed the welfare state and socialism and communism and parasitic taxation because they are all rooted in a false claim to empathy. It lacks empathy when some people make more money than others. It is unfair when someone makes 100 times more than you make, right? We should have greater equality amongst all of us, right? The utopians thought that. The radical utopians thought, they wanted to create equality because a well-functioning society should not have great inequality. And it is precisely those sentiments, so a sentiment for fairness, a sentiment, a dark sentiment of envy, that makes that parasitic socialism and parasitic communism are akin to the phoenix that always rises from the ashes. It doesn't matter how many times you demonstrate that it is always doomed to fail. As new people are born and go through their cognitive developmental stage, it becomes a newly intoxicating idea to them, right? Sharing is caring. I discuss all this in Suicidal Empathy. I truly hope that you will get 1, 2, 5, 10 copies of it because I go through all this. Let me give you an example of why it is so difficult to eradicate this ideology. And that's why an imbecile, an Islamic imbecile, socialist imbecile like Mamdani. I mean, I rue the day that I even know that this guy's name exists. But the reason why, he comes out of nowhere with his, we will have free supermarkets and free this and free that, is because in a very facile, cognitively undeveloped way, people are drawn to that, right? It's not fair, again, that this other guy makes so much more money than I do. Why does a rookie basketball player make more in a week than I will at this point in my career after 31 years? That's unfair. He should be taxed and his money should be distributed according to what the empathetic, benevolent government thinks it should be distributed. So, first of all, the psychology of envy is always going to be there. That's why, the Ten Commandments have a prescription against covetousness, right? Don't covet your neighbor's wife, and so on. That's why in the 7 deadly sins, you have, one of the deadly sins is envy, right? Precisely because that is such a natural sentiment for a hierarchical social species to have. Hierarchical, I said. I didn't say egalitarian, right? Some of us work harder than others. Some of us are taller, shorter, better looking, less better looking, more assertive, less assertive. So that we should end up at the same place makes no sense. But the sentiment of cosmic unfairness is always part of the darkness of the human heart. Therefore, whenever a new imbecile comes along and says, hey, I will create equality and fairness, it becomes easy for people, and certainly lobotomized idiots, to be intoxicated by that message. Which leads me to a study that I did way back in 2001. So pay attention. This was a study with one of my former doctoral students, Tripat Gill. We asked people, would you rather receive a $600 salary increase, let's say whatever, per weekly increase, whatever it was, and your equal colleague, like similar colleague, same position, receives $800. So you receive $600 and they receive $800. Or scenario 2, you receive $500 and they receive $500. So you see what the tension is here. In one case, there'll be less final money in your pocket, $500 instead of $600, but it would be equal to what your colleague is receiving. Or you could receive more money in your pocket, but your colleague receives even more money than you. From a strict axiom of rationality, in this case income maximization, you should prefer the $600 to $800 scenario. But guess what? People didn't choose that. Many people chose the 500 for me, 500 for him scenario, even though it meant that they would keep less money in their pockets. That's why socialism and communism exist, because as long as you have a system where there will be winners and losers, and where there are certainly more losers than winners, then a message of existential equality is always going to resonate. So it doesn't matter how much data I give you, from how many societies I give you. I can give you ethological data, zoological data, economic data, historical data that proves that this system is doomed to fail, for it is contrary to human nature. As a new generation comes about, Mamdani and other charlatans will come along and say, free tuition, free cars, free. Nothing is free. By free, it simply means free for you on the back of someone else. You literally are a thief. That's why parasitic socialism and parasitic communism never go away. And this is why it is terribly important to have the proper education, so that you can hopefully inoculate your children, who eventually will become the political leaders, from this kind of nonsense. Have a great weekend, everybody. Please do me a favor. Go right now and subscribe to the channel. Press the bell button to get alerts. It matters to have an increase in one's number of subscribers. Please do it. It's free. That's the least you can do to support those who are trying to protect you from parasitic ideas. Take care, everybody.